Tuesday. On most Tuesdays, we like to welcome the mayor of San Antonio, Ron Nirenberg, for our KSAT Q&A conversations. Mr. Mayor, thank you for joining us. Sorry about some technical difficulties getting you on there right at 6:30. Apologize for that. But I want to talk about Wemby fever hitting City Hall. There are reports out there that the city manager has talked to people about a new Spurs arena and about maybe a Missions ballpark side by side. Give us your thoughts on that. Have you been part of these discussions? Do you think this is something that needs to happen?
Sure. Well, I can understand the interest in Wemby fever, and Spurs fever is back in full force here in San Antonio. So it feels good. We see the future with regard to the Spurs, and the future is very bright. I can share with you that I have had, along with the city manager, some conversations with the Spurs. Those are very general. We want to continue to nurture our relationship with the Spurs. Beyond that, I have nothing to share. I'm not going to comment on the speculation. I will just say this, that, the relationship that the Spurs have had with the city of San Antonio and Barrett County, our community in general, is a very special one. And it's part of our culture. And certainly we are going to be interested in a long and bright future, a permanent one for the city of San Antonio and our community in general with the relationship with the Spurs. And beyond that, I have nothing further to share. I will tell you, though, that there are some conversations about downtown with regard to other facilities that we have to improve and that have been slated for improvement. Things like the Convention Center, the Alamo Dome, Hemisphere Project, which is 20 years in the making. A lot of things are underway. And of course, we want to make sure that we have a comprehensive discussion about those things as we move forward. But beyond that, again, nothing to share and not going to comment on the speculation.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I mean, the discussions been about a downtown possibility?
Again, I've had conversations with the Spurs, with the city manager, and it's related to downtown. That kind of speculation has been out there since they moved out of the Hemisphere Arena to begin with. So I want to acknowledge that. But with regard to specifics, there are no specifics to share. And, these things do take time, and we're going to have to be part of a long-term community conversation, and those sorts of details will unfold as we move along. But the important thing to remember, though, is that the Spurs have a bright future ahead of them. They have a bright future in San Antonio, and we're going to continue to work hard to nurture the relationship between the two.
All right, I hope we can talk specifics on this next subject. The city suing the state. We talked about that yesterday here at 6 o'clock over this so-called preemption bill, this piece of legislation that essentially tells local municipalities like San Antonio that you cannot create local ordinances that they go against what the state already has on the books. San Antonio joined Houston in suing the state in that effort. What are you worried about the city not being able to do if this legislation remains in effect?
I worry about the city, a city of our size, San Antonio or not, being able to respond to the concerns of local constituents. And let's be very clear. For 70 years, San Antonio has enjoyed being under the governance of a city charter that was adopted by the voters of San Antonio. In that charter are different rules and regulation that govern the quality of life to ensure that the interests of the public are protected in various things, whether that's the agriculture or finances or the commercial codes of the community. And in the Constitution of the state of Texas, it says that those things that are not specifically and explicitly governed by the state of Texas, those are the responsibility of cities under these home rule authorities to be able to govern in, because we can't wait for 2 years, and we certainly can't wait for the long drawn out and politicized process of the legislature to fix things like nuisances and noise ordinances and whether or not 18-wheelers can park in front of your house, property codes, fire codes. There's a lot of things that are of the domain of cities And far be it for any legislator who lives hundreds of miles away, who our citizens don't have the ability to vote for, to govern the way our city should work. And it upends the constitutional process, the democratic process. It takes away the voice of voters here in San Antonio and in cities throughout the state. And we think it's wrong, and it's an affront to the democratic process. So on behalf of our citizens who will expect this city council and city councils far into the future to address their concerns, we want to make sure that those authorities are preserved as they were intended in the state constitution.
One of the things that maybe falls under this preemption lawsuit, and I want to clear this with you, Congressman Greg Casar is having what he's calling a thirst strike because of the lack of mandated water breaks for construction workers and some of the other workers. Is that one of the things you're concerned about? Does that fall under the preemption lawsuit?
That's one part of the labor code that would theoretically, there's not really any specifics to this other than it names the code. So theoretically, that might fall under this new HB 2127 provision, and therefore bar the city from requiring employers to provide water breaks every 4 hours or however long that might be for their workers. And we've seen some bad actors in this area, not in this specific area, but in this area of labor that have resulted in worker injuries. And so that's the kind of thing that we hear from constituents. Well, can you help us address this? And that would theoretically be barred from the city council. There are the things that go far beyond the businesses in this community. And let me also just state very clearly, this has been characterized as the business community versus city governments. You know, the business commercial code is only one small aspect of this. Being able to prevent clear cutting of property, that borders along your community is one aspect of property code that might, in fact, be affected by this. People don't like moonscaping of properties happening in our city because treescapes, landscapes are important. Theoretically, that this is one of those areas that would be affected. So this is talking about lots more than just business provisions. And here's the thing, Steve and Myra. There have been occasions where a city government like San Antonio might adopt a measure that businesses have a problem with, or businesses think that is unjust or is unconstitutional. We try not to do those things. We're pretty judicious about that. But in the event that that law or ordinance might be passed, there's a process for remedy, and that's challenged in court. And sometimes those ordinances are struck down. That's the democratic process. That's the process of checks and balances. This provision, this HB 2127, prevents that entire process from unfolding and says, you know what, cities, we don't like that you might pass something that we disagree with, so we're just not going to let you pass anything at all. That's a very, very dangerous precedent. And the centralization of authority is something that we're used to seeing from Eastern Bloc communist countries. And people like to throw that word out, but when you see the creep towards authoritarianism, when power is consolidated within a single level of government, that's the thing that people who are mindful of democracy, regardless of which party they fall on, get very concerned about. And that's why you have Republicans and Democrats all across the state at the local level fighting back against this bill.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that lawsuit that San Antonio has now joined other cities in. Mayor, thanks so much for your time.
Thank you all very much. Have a good night.
You too.
Keep up to date with all of San Antonio's top news, weather, and so much more by clicking the like and subscribe buttons below. And once again, thanks for watching KSAT.